Happy Thursday, April 2nd. Can anyone else not believe that it's April? So crazy. Time is flying by. For those of you who this is your first webinar with me, my name is Jessica Lanier, and I am a registered nurse and health coach, and I kind of specialize in integrated medicine. And these webinars are really to serve you. So if there's ever a topic that you're wanting to learn more about to improve your quality of life, please pass that on to Lindsay. Lindsay and I became best friends in nursing school 10 years ago, which is so bizarre that it's been that long. But it's been so fun getting to work with her and to see the incredible community that she's created and support system that she's created for so many of you. So these Thursday night webinars are to serve you. And this is a topic that I think, honestly, any individual could benefit from, but especially when you're dealing with any kind of chronic illness. How do we actually set tangible goals and stay motivated to make them happen and bring them to fruition? So I'm really excited to talk about this. I posted a little comment in the chat box just so that everybody knows where that's at. Feel free to use that. I will say, excuse me, I have a head cold or allergies or something that's making me super attractive to listen to right now. So hopefully I won't sneeze in your ear. At least that's the benefit of social distancing and you being on a computer and me being over here. Anyways, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to actually put this in presentation mode. So if I don't see your chat right away, I promise you I will get to the questions. If you have any kind of questions about any of this, I promise you I'll get to it at the end for sure. But feel free to use the chat box. Okay, let me open this up and we will get started. Oh, good. I can still see this. Okay, so really, goal setting, especially when it comes to someone's holistic health, body, mind, soul health, is my jam. That's what I do for a living. Is I help people establish clear goals that are in alignment with what they want, and then help them develop a plan to be successful in those goals and help them stay motivated. That is what I do. But there is something to be said about this process when you are someone that is dealing with chronic illness such as MS, right? There is a unique, and I don't know if any of you have struggled with that, maybe lack of motivation or just a complete sense of overwhelm. I don't know where to start. I don't know, maybe I have this goal, or this goal used to be my health goal, but now since I've been diagnosed, and now since, my entire life has changed, I'm dealing with chronic pain or lack of mobility issues now, all these problems I never had to deal with before, that it's so overwhelming to think of what I could be successful at, and a lot of people will stay there. And so I've geared this tonight towards you. I will 100% be honest with you. And nobody knows your specific situation. Nobody knows the shoes that you are walking in. But I will tell you, as someone who has struggled, I don't have a current chronic illness, but I have, there's a period of probably 10 years that I really struggled with my health. And I felt that lack of hope. And I really did struggle myself to ever think that I could do something with that. So anyways, we're going to dive in, but I'm really excited about this, and I would love and welcome your engagement along the way. Excuse me, my goodness. Okay. So starting with reality, right? I never want you guys to feel like this information that I'm bringing you is coming from a naive place of you just don't understand where I'm at. Because it's true, I don't know exactly your shoes, exactly how you feel every day. But I do the best I can to try and to look at Me and Lindsay talk a lot before each of these webinars, and I ask her, like, what are your patients telling you? What are they struggling with? How can we work together to help them really grow stronger through this? And I looked up some statistics today that I wanted to share with you guys, because I really do believe that the grief of what used to be is very real. So when you're dealing with a diagnosis such as multiple sclerosis, there is a sense of grieving what you used to be able to do, how you used to feel, the freedom maybe that you used to have, and it is very real. And I think it's so important for you and for any of us going through anything like this to feel that grief and to process it. And that's where, it can be so powerful to work with therapists, to do journaling and mentally process what you're going through, because it is heavy. It is a grieving process of what your previous capabilities were. I actually have helped my mother walk through this last, it's been like 2.5 years now, of severe health issues where there was a period where we didn't know if she was going to make it. And they're all very mysterious and not widely recognized by medical professionals. And she was stuck in bed for a long period of that time. And my mom, I know none of you know her except for Lindsay, but she's an extremely driven woman. I got my work ethic from her. She is a very successful realtor that renovated how you market houses, and she's just extremely successful, extremely driven. And I have been talking with her since she's better and functionable now, but not where she was. And I was talking with her about this specific topic, about how it's so hard, because when you're feeling okay enough to make a health goal or make a positive goal for your future, it's so hard sometimes because our brains go back to what I used to be able to do. And then all of a sudden reality sets in, and it's like, well, I can't do that now. And it's learning how to adapt and to shift your perspective and your goal setting technique so that you still can have forward momentum and forward movement, instead of staying in that place of grief and grieving what used to be and what won't be again because of this new chapter. Excuse me. So here are a few statistics that I found that I thought were really fascinating. 6 in 10 adults in the US have a chronic disease. That actually really surprised me. I didn't know that the number was that high. And I use the chronic disease statistics because even though multiple sclerosis is very unique, there are other people out there who are also dealing with other limitations right from their disease that they've been diagnosed with. I think that there's something that is similar about having a chronic illness, about looking ahead and it being very different than what you imagine your life would be years ago. And in that area, I feel like it is very similar. So 6 in 10 adults in the US have a chronic disease, and 4 in 10 have 2 or more. So for being such a developed country, we're not the healthiest. That's why we're doing these webinars, right? So we can try to move in a positive direction, try to figure out where we missed the mark on in our health system and what we can do about it. And then MS is estimated to affect about 1 million people in the US alone and about 2.5 million worldwide. And I got these statistics you can see at the bottom. So there's something here that I want you to notice, because when we're in this place of discouragement or this place of grief, in a sense, of what we ourselves are going through, it's very easy to feel isolated and like nobody understands. And I was at a conference one time and we were talking about this topic. And the speaker had said very bluntly, he's an extremely successful life coach, personal development individual. And I can't remember now off the top of my head what the number is, but he was like, there's, 3 point something billion people on the planet, and 9 billion people who've existed. I can guarantee you, you are not the only person to ever go through what you're going through right now. Someone else has been in your shoes and they've actually figured out how to make it work. Some of them have even thrived given your circumstance. Sorry, guys. And there's something so powerful about that always stuck with me, because I've had my own stuff they've had to process through, and for a living, this is what I do. I help people through their struggles that they're having. And I thought that there was something so liberating about that sensation. Like, what if someone actually does know exactly how I feel? What if someone actually has been in my shoes with these specific circumstances and they figured out how to make it work, how to continue to move forward, how to grow stronger in certain areas, and just pivot and adapt and shift their perspective so they can still have a good quality of life even though they're dealing with this. There's something very exciting about that thought, and all of a sudden you go from I'm completely alone in my struggles to if someone else has been able to figure it out, maybe I can figure it out too. And there's a sense of hope and possibility in that. And with these numbers, you guys, with the amount of people who deal with chronic disease and the amount of people that have been diagnosed with MS, that is so huge to me. I know that you're right here in the right place at the right time with this incredible community to lean into, to maybe find what's going to work for you that you've never tried before. Or you get to be, and we're going to talk about this, I get excited and ahead of myself, but you never know the role that your story and your experience can play in giving hope to other people who are struggling out there as well. Okay, so the most common struggle in goal setting with MS is this exactly. It's what we've been talking about. Remembering what you used to be capable of before MS and knowing your future looks very different, and staying stuck in that place of grief, of grieving. I used to be a very successful business person and doing CrossFit, and now I can barely get out of bed, or I'm stuck in a wheelchair. That is a very real grieving process. And again, it's so important to go through that in a healthy way. And that's why I can see this specifically as one of the biggest struggles. How do I make health goals or how do I make positive goals in the right direction when my goals used to be like, I'm going to do a mile of traveling burpees and now I can barely walk, how does that happen? And I totally get that. And that's something I think it's really important to at least acknowledge and talk about, because then we can work through it. And that's what I'm going to address tonight, is kind of a 4 steps. Excuse me, my gosh. 4 steps to becoming the best version of yourself in this new chapter of life. And I think that that's really important, that it's in this new chapter. Yes, when you were, 10 years old and having dreams of being a doctor and an astronaut and a lawyer all at the same time, things have changed. And this is just a new chapter. So how do we harness that new chapter and this new story in your life and make it the best possible? Not what you thought it would be, but what can you do now with what you have to work with to make it the best possible version of yourself? Okay, so number 1, first step, set lifetime big picture goals. So even though we're in April, we're all familiar with January New Year's resolutions, right? And how unsuccessful people are in general with those. This is something that these steps I'm going to take you through, they're all going to make sense and come together. And I think it's so important to allow yourself, no matter where you're at in this stage of life, allow yourself to set lifetime big picture goals. Allow yourself to get excited about some things that you do have control over. Because I know that that's one of the hardest parts, right? Is that you don't have control over how this disease progresses, obviously, or else you would control for it to go away completely. If that was on the table, that would absolutely be your option. So what can you control? Start to set some lifetime big picture goals for what you want your life to look like. So these are just some examples. Excuse me. To have strong, fulfilling relationships, and that can be specifically with your spouse, with your kids, with your circle of friends, with your family. Maybe you aspire to be a writer and you have a knack for writing and it's something that brings you joy and you get in the zone and you're just really good at it. Be a writer. Like, you could still be a writer. You can absolutely do that. What brings you joy? Maybe it's to spend time outdoors doing things that you really enjoy. That can be by yourself or with your loved ones, right? Maybe you love, I'm just going to throw ideas out there. Maybe you love fishing, or maybe you just love sitting outside and reading a book, or there's a special park that you love to go to. What are some things that bring you joy that you really, when you visualize your best life right now, these are the moments that come up in a picture in your mind that you actually love doing. Maybe you're someone that really wants to create a nurturing home environment and be able to sustain that. Everyone's at different life chapters right now, but maybe that's something that resonates with you. To be healthy, right? I think that especially if you're on this webinar, that is one of your goals. I want to be the healthiest version of myself possible. I envision that in my future, that I am going down a road of this disease progressing as slowly as I have any control over. I'm going to learn different tactics so that I can feel my best, even when, things come my way that I wouldn't have chosen. Or maybe it's financially, right? I know that right now it's such a tough time. The times that we're going through right now are so incredibly difficult, especially when it comes to finances and jobs and so many different areas. But maybe long term, that is one of your goals. You want to find a way to bring in financial income or residual income, or be able to work from home, or whatever that may be. And maybe if you're married, this is a joint goal with your spouse. We want to be able to have a financially stable future for our family and long-term goals. Whatever, spend some time after this writing down some things that mean a lot to you. Lifetime big picture goals. That's step number 1 versus step number 1 being I'm going to lose 10 pounds, right? Step number 1 is bigger picture. Write those down. Okay, step number 2. This is everything. Everything when it comes, especially to motivation, when people struggle with motivation. This is everything when it comes to whether or not people will follow through. This is everything, and this is what I am really good at in my job, because every time people aren't doing the things that they know they should be doing, or they're doing the things they know they shouldn't be doing, it comes down to this. They've lost connection with their vision and what's important to them. So look at your big picture goals and then ask yourself and let yourself dig deep. Why are these important to you? Why is it important to you to have strong connected relationships with your kids or your family or your spouse? Why is it important to you to be healthy and to feel healthy? Why is it important to you to have financial security? And really let yourself go a couple levels deep there and get really to the heart of it and write those things down. Because if you can identify something that actually really motivates you, like sets your soul on fire, even when you're struggling because you can't get out of bed, it really makes all the difference in still doing the things you need to move forward, or staying stuck in that place of discouragement. Is this one right here. And I will tell you that this, with life chapters, changes for some people. For example, I'm now a mom of almost 3, right? I have my 3rd baby coming in July, and my motivating factors has completely changed from when I didn't have any kids. Obviously, right? Those things change so much, and I know they'll change again as my kids get older. This is what helps us stick to the tasks that we've set ahead for ourselves when we talk about number 3, this is what helps us do the things even when they're difficult. So let's say your health goal is, I'm going to move my body for 20 to 30 minutes every day, even if I really can't get out of bed. I'm going to find hand stretches to do. I'm going to move parts of my body every day for 30 minutes. And that day comes when you are in so much pain and you cannot get out of bed that day and you're feeling so discouraged. But that alarm goes off on your phone and it's like, hey, Lindsay, I'm checking in with you. Reminder to move for 30 minutes today. And you're like, I don't feel like it. But all of a sudden you remember, why is this important to me? Because of my grandkids or because of my kids. And I want to show them that if I can show up when life is hard, so can they, because I want them to believe in themselves. When you can connect it with something that's beyond yourself, that is so much deeper, you're going to be able to do more than you give yourself credit for. So this part is really important. Spend some time here. Here's an example, this quote that I put over here. I want to have strong, fulfilling relationships with my family because I don't want a day to go by without them knowing how loved and important they are. This is something I can control. And this is where our minds start shifting from all of the stuff that's out of our control, like your diagnosis, right? Again, no one would ever choose that. But what can you control? I can make sure that my daughter every single day hears that I love her. And that's important to me. And I can control that. And so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to surprise her with random, love packages that are super embarrassing with confetti hearts once a month because I can control that. That's something I can do and it brings me joy. And it just shifts. You can imagine how you go from this place of isolation of my life is out of my hands. I can't control anything and I am going down a path I never wanted to go down and staying in that place of grieving to, even though this is true, I can still do this. I can still have an impact in my kid's life. I can still show other people. I can encourage other people, whatever that is. And that is everything when it comes to our quality of life for everyone, right? It's connecting to our purpose, connecting to what we can do and how we move forward. Okay, number 3. So now that you've written down your big picture goals, you've really connected with why it's important to you at a deep level to have those big picture goals, those life goals. Now you take each of those categories, each of those big goals that you've set for yourself, and you break them down into things that are tangible. So obviously, let's see, I'll use a financial example. I want to have $500,000 in my savings account. Well, if I just sit, and that's important to me because I want to be able to pay for my kids' college completely, for example. And if I just stay there and I don't do anything about it, my savings account is not going to grow, right? We have to take the big picture, the motivating reason, and then we have to actually break it down into what can I actually do about this. And it's important to do this with those goals that you want to work on first, so that you have an understanding of, again, what you can control and how to move forward, because that's what this is all about. How do you climb Mount Everest? Pinterest tells us, one step at a time. As cheesy as that is, we also know that it's true. And this is the same exact situation. So here are some examples. Excuse me. My goodness. So some examples for actions for stronger relationships. I'm going to spend special time with my husband once a week for a date night. You get to determine what that is, whether that's, if you're feeling up to it, that we're going to go out to dinner, or we're going to have a date night in, or we're going to lay in bed and watch Netflix and just talk about life, whatever that means to you. But if I do this once a week for over time, What is that going to produce? The big picture of having stronger, more fulfilling relationships. The same could be I'm going to plan a fun activity at home or out with my kids and grandkids at least one time a month. Again, these are just examples. You plug in what works for you. And what's going to happen if you spend that intentional time with your kids and your grandkids at least once a month if you're not doing that right now? Over time, it's going to build those fulfilling, stronger relationships. I'm going to stay in touch with my distant family and friends via Facebook or Zoom. The Zoom account is completely free. I think you get 30-minute calls for free, and you can have up to, I think, 100 people on a normal account. So what if you're the person that's like, hey, I can't leave my house, or my family's scattered all over the state, but it's really important to me to have fulfilling, strong relationships in my future. So I'm going to find a solution. We're going to connect every single week on Monday for lunch, and we're going to log into Zoom together and just catch up. Or I'm going to make a Facebook family group just for my family, and then we're going to connect there. Whatever means a lot to you. I just want to give you some examples of these are tangible things you could do from bed, you can do from your kitchen, from your living room, that you can actually start doing to work towards the bigger picture. Example, actions to be healthy. I did two webinars that all the recordings are up on the website, but one about top inflammatory foods to avoid and top anti-inflammatory tools that we have. So maybe you're gonna watch one of those and you're gonna start removing inflammatory foods that have been proven to be inflammatory in the body, and you're gonna find healthy alternatives. That is a measurable, actionable thing that you can do that will help your body move in the right direction of being more healthy. I'm going to improve my stamina by committing to daily stretching or movement, even if I'm in bed. That was kind of the example I talked about before. And again, that's going to help you consistently over time to have those big life goals, be successful at those. And when you're connected with what that means to you, you will be able to do these smaller things. I'm going to reduce stress with morning meditation. We talked about that in our stress management webinar that I did a couple weeks ago. And that's something we all could do, and we probably all should do right now. Or maybe yours actions are going to be more self-care related, such as getting massage twice a month or take a bubble bath 5 nights a week. I have to tell you guys a funny, true story, very true story. So I have a 2 and a 4-year-old, right? And we live in a house that has 2 bathrooms with 2 showers that are like flat showers. We don't have a bathtub. And for Christmas, my mom got me a foldable bathtub that pretty much is a Tupperware container. Like, it's basically a Tupperware container, but I was so excited about it because there's something so relaxing about taking an Epsom salt bath or a bubble bath, especially being pregnant. And you better believe that I use it. And I sit in my Tupperware container drinking a glass of kombucha and I enjoy that. So whatever is applicable to you of how, like, when you look at your life and you're like, how can I improve my quality of life? How can I improve my health? You need to drink more water. You need to get more sleep. You need to improve your nutrition. Some of the things, the foundational things. And so write those things down and let that be your encouragement that this is your starting place. And with every positive decision you make, you're taking a step towards that bigger life goal. Okay, and then number 4, and this is so important, track your progress. Because when you don't, you will get discouraged. And it's just like when you are around your own family all the time or your own kids all the time, you don't really see the huge difference that happens in them because you see them every day. Whereas if an aunt of mine hadn't seen my kids in 6 months, all of a sudden, like, oh my gosh, they've grown so much, right? When you're doing these little things every day and you're not tracking it and you're not showing a progression, you're going to get discouraged and you're going to feel like you're not making any progress. And so tracking all of these positive things that you're doing is really, really powerful, because when it comes down to it, so much of this, like 98% of it, is mental. It's our mental perspective. It's our mental approach to how we are viewing our situation, how we're responding to it. And it is so discouraging to put in all of this work and not see any progress. But if you can see, wow, over this last month, look at these positive new habits that I've integrated and I've been consistent with them. And then you can rate yourself on a rating scale of, your energy maybe, or your relationships, or whatever your goal is. That is so encouraging. But if you're not tracking it, there's no way to know if it's working. And most people will say, I tried that, it didn't work. I tried that whole eating healthy thing and it didn't work for me. And most people just aren't paying attention to how they're growing and changing. And so they don't notice a difference. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can do morning and evening journaling, where you write out in the morning, these are my goals for the day, in my different, goal categories, for example. These are my goals for the day. At the end of the day, you rate yourself. How did I do in these goals that I set for myself? And it's okay if you have a bad day, because we are human and nobody is perfect, right? Nobody has good days all the time. But at the end of the day, if you're like, man, I was really disconnected in my relationships today, that's okay. Write that down. Track that. Maybe process through it. Why was I so disconnected? Man, I was just really discouraged because I had a really bad day and I am in so much pain. Or I tried this new medication and I thought I would feel better by now. There's so many variables that you could be feeling, and write that down, because over time you'll be able to go back and look through the pages and say, this has been my journey and I'm really proud of myself because I continued to push forward. Even though this is all new, even though I'm struggling, even though this is not where I wanted to see myself, I'm still making progress. I'm still actually getting stronger mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. I'm doing things that I've never tried before. I'm growing in areas that I didn't ever think that I could have before. So morning, evening journaling, you can create an Excel spreadsheet if that's something that you like to do. You can journal in a calendar planner. I thought I had mine in front of me and I don't. Or just a notebook, and write down how you're doing, but keep it in a place where you can continue to reference it. Tracking is essential. Okay. Excuse me, my goodness. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. And this is something that I think all of us need to hear from time to time. And it's something that I tell my 4-year-old many times. When he tells me, like, Mom, I can't do this. We just went on a walk before this and he was riding his bike and he's like, Mom, I just can't. I'm so tired. And we don't allow that word in our house, right? We don't allow can't. If you feel like you're incapable of doing something, then you ask for help and we will finish it together. But it's so true that if I was to allow him to feel like he can't do something because it's hard, and to say, okay, no problem, you can't do it, you're right, let me carry you and your bike home because you can't, he'll never try, ever. And the same is true for us. If we really put it in our minds that I cannot do something, we're never going to try. And I think that that's such a powerful reminder, again, for all of us, myself included. If you think you can do something, what shifts in your brain? You're going to try it. And if you're unsuccessful, that's okay. At least you tried. What's the harm in trying? If you don't ever try something new and you don't ever try to push the boundaries of what's possible for yourself, you'll never know. And I think it's really important for us to go back to what is the narrative that we're telling ourselves every day. Are you living in this place where you're like, this is my future because so-and-so had such a rough road, this is going to be my rough road too, and I'm going to travel down the same path? You just never know. I think that's the most incredible thing about the integrative clinic that Lindsay has put together, and all these different professionals coming together and helping stretch what is possible when you have a multiple sclerosis diagnosis. It's no longer like one road for everyone. This is the only thing you can do. There's so many things you can learn and you can expand and you can try. And like, I love that you guys have virtual yoga. Like, that's so cool, right? 10 years ago, I highly doubt that there was ever virtual yoga for anybody. And look what we're doing now because someone said, I think we can. I think we can try this. Let's see what happens. So remind yourself of that too, is you're going to try things that are going to be hard and are going to be foreign and that are not going to feel natural or you never saw yourself doing, and that's okay. But try it anyways, because you never know. You could find a whole new hobby that you will love. I used to say I was never going to be a work from home mother. That was never anything that was on my agenda. I was ASB president, captain of the softball team, and over involved in way too many things all the time my entire life. And then I had my baby, my first one. And I'm like, I can never leave you, so like things shifted for me. And now I'm doing what I know I was created to do, which I'm so passionate about and I love with all my heart, more than the job that I actually went to school for. So you just never know what your journey holds ahead of you. Okay. This is the last, one of the last points I wanted to make, and then we're just going to wrap up really quick. Where there is hardship, there is opportunity. And this is something I've really been sharing with my personal clients and my team of coaches I mentor for such a time as this right now. Because we are in a place of hardship in the world, in our country, and I know that you each are in your own place of hardship and struggle. But I also want to remind you that it is so true, and it's been said throughout history, that where there is hardship, there is opportunity. And this, not everyone is motivated through helping other people, but there is something in a lot of people where they find strength and motivation in the hope and the thought of inspiring, encouraging, or helping other people with the struggle that they're going through. And that's something that's been very true for me, of what's helped me. I've shared bits and pieces of my story throughout these, so I don't want to be redundant, but for example, my dad and I were hit by a drunk driver when I was 11, and we were both knocked unconscious, put on life support. I was in a coma and on life support for a week. My dad ended up passing away from that, and I was a young girl. I was only 11, but my response to that, what really helped me in my healing journey, was actually speaking at different drunk driving awareness events at high schools. I used to speak at a bunch of different high schools sharing my story and how drinking and driving affected my life. And that gave me hope. Like, if I could prevent one person from making that mistake, that gave me so much hope and healing. And it's been true in several different difficulties in my life where I found a little bit of like, man, if this could help one person, I'm so glad that I have the opportunity to share it and that I can say, hey, I've walked through your shoes. So the opportunity that I see through 1 million people approximately struggling with multiple sclerosis, that is a huge hardship, right? You're living it. I added some other statistics that I found in here, that 50% of MS patients struggle with deep depression, and about a third of them have contemplated suicide. Hardship. Talk about heavy hardship. You are one in those 1 million people. You understand the struggles. You see the needs. You feel the pain. You live the hardship that those other 1 million people are also living. There's an opportunity in that for connection. Because what if you decide that you're going to do what you can to take positive steps in a positive direction in your own journey, in your own life, not comparing it to other people, but in your own set of circumstances, and you decide that maybe me doing that could provide some hope for other people, for some of you, there's going to be a little bit of, wow, that could be actually pretty cool. Before we got on here, I was actually looking and researching the different famous people with MS, and there's a lot of them, like people that I didn't know were diagnosed with MS. Like, it's so cool, the beacon of light that they've chosen to be. And again, there's so many people out there with other chronic illnesses that have chosen to be a beacon of light, like even in the midst of their struggle. I know other people are struggling. There's a hardship, and here's the opportunity. We only have one life to live, so how can I live mine as bright and full as I can, even though it hurts to get out of bed some days? Even though, what can I do about that? And I think you have an incredible community to plug into, and there's some incredible opportunities and resources out there for you. But to just keep that perspective. Okay, in recapping, goal setting. Number 1, set those lifetime goals. Get clear on where you want to go, your big picture goals of how you want your life to play out. Find your motivating why, the reason why you want these things. Why are they important to you? What is the potential if you are successful in these big life exciting goals of yours? And then what's the risk if you don't try? And that sometimes is more clarifying than what's the potential if you're successful. It's such a good exercise to, excuse me, ask yourself, like, let me imagine my life if these big picture goals are successful. Imagine my life and my satisfaction. And then if I was not to do any of this, and I was just going to continue on the path that I'm on, what's the risk that's in front of me of not achieving these things, of not having those fulfilling relationships because I didn't put in the intention and the work into my relationships, of not being healthier because I decided I wasn't going to put any effort into it, of not having a financial, successful security because I decided not to even try because I'm so overwhelmed with my current situation. Sometimes that is even more motivating than the other side of things. And then once you find your motivating factors, create small steps that are going to move you towards the big goals. And that's key. And then obviously track your progress. Celebrate every single step forward because it's worth celebrating because you are moving forward, and you're not going to get there like this because nobody does. Have a long-term vision and long-term goals of where you want to go in the long run, and then you just start walking, shuffling, crawling. Sometimes we need to crawl on our hands and knees to move towards something, but at least we're moving. At least we're moving, and that's the goal, to keep moving forward. All right, you guys, do you have any questions for me? Anything? Let me open up this chat box really quick and make sure I didn't miss anything. Sorry for my hacking in your ear, my goodness. Any questions, any specific struggles that you have that you want to talk through? Anything that's been helpful for you in this area? And if not, that's totally fine too. Okay. Cool, you guys. Well, thank you so much, as always, for being here. You're so welcome. Again, if you have any questions for me, here's my contact information. I am also in the Facebook group, so I hope you found the My Strength Wellness community on Facebook now, which is super fun, and I'm excited to have that. I'm in there, so I would love, again, you can shoot me a message or put a comment in there if there's specific topics you want to learn about. We did set the schedule for April, which I'm really excited about. Next week is going to be a cooking class. I cannot remember. We're doing 2 this month. One's going to be on healthy desserts and the other is going to be on healthy snacks. So I'm going to be working on those recipes to get out to you guys as soon as possible. I know grocery shopping is super difficult right now, but at least you can have them. You can laugh at me in my ghetto setup with my laptop in my kitchen, trying to explain some of the recipes. But I think that's going to be really fun too. We're going to be talking about gut health, specifically to MS this month. And I'm trying to remember the last topic that we chose, and now I cannot off the top of my head. But I think it's going to be a good month. And so moving forward, again, if you have any suggestions or any topics you want to learn about, please shoot me a message or let Lindsay know or put it in our Facebook group, and I'd be happy to cover it. Thank you guys. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.